let's talk a crowdfunding campaign that's in a little bit of a tarnished state that we spoke about before a little over a year ago. The Sinclair ZX Spectrum Vega Plus console. So there was an original Sinclair ZX Spectrum Vega that came out in 2015, handheld ZX Spectrum. This was a follow-up to that. This was going to have the original one. I don't think had its own screen, a lot more simpler in terms of buttons. This handheld proposed is fully functional, self-contained screen, a lot more face buttons, and was going to have 1,000 built-in games. Now we spoke about this, Ian and I. One of the reasons we wanted to talk about it was into contrast at the time to the Going Down in Flames Coleco Chameleon campaign, which at the time, I think the New York Toy Fair fraudulent SNES Mini in a Jaguar shell had just been released. So we're saying, well, this is a nice counterpart to that because this campaign is based upon a prior product, and it had Sir Clive Sinclair of ZX Spectrum fame, and his name Sinclair, he was backing it. So his name was on the project. So we thought from that, this is a project that you can get behind. Well, my apologies if based upon us talking about it, you went out and backed it for your handheld device. I actually thought about doing it at the time. So did Ian. But in retrospect, not the best idea to do that. Now, this isn't to say this ZX Vega Plus handheld isn't going to come out. There's still a chance it could, but we're still some ways away from this coming out. And what has happened in a year was, oh my God. Oh my God. So looking back onto this, they raised $625,000 US. There are thousands of backers for this handheld to this point. Let's see how many thousands. You have 4,780 backers waiting for this. This was supposed to have come out last year originally. September 2016, this was going to ship out. This is in such a bad state now that Indiegogo has cut off the campaign from accepting more money, which they have on demand on Indiegogo. Basically means you can leave a campaign open, unlike Kickstarter where you can't, for more backers, because due to the lack of communication with the backers, Indiegogo stepped in and did that. I had never heard of that before. Indiegogo stepping in, but what's been going on isn't good at all. Isn't good at all. So according to the BBC, what's been going on? All right. And by the way, Sir Clive Sinclair has been off this project for a while. There's been a lot of infighting between two different groups, which I'll try to get into. I don't know a lot about, but you had two different groups that were working together, and then there's potential legal ramifications with that. Indiegogo halted further fundraising because of delivery delays and a lack of communication to backers. The project organizers had asked the BBC not to reveal the development. I don't know why a project organizers would ask a news organization not to reveal information like that. That makes you look even worse. Just communicate with your backers. If the project is going south and you are really making a project and not, trying to take the money and run, honesty is always the best policy. To sort of just turn tail or to try to strong arm a news organization, that's never going to work out. The BBC, this is the BBC trying to defend themselves. They're afraid of getting sued, I think. The BBC understands no consoles have been delivered to backers, despite a pledge last month that they would ship after February 20, 2017. The company behind the project, Retro Computers Limited, suggested these details might put its team at risk. In quotes, following a credible threat of violence against personnel of Retro Computers Limited, including threats made as recently as last night, we asked the technology desk editor Leo Kellyon and the BBC to refrain from publishing a story we believe to be factually inaccurate and might put people at risk of physical harm, alarm, and distress. Retro Computers Limited founder David Levi said in a statement on Wednesday. Since December 2016, the BBC have formally been on notice that this is a police matter, and we ask that the BBC and Mr. Kellyanne do not compromise the police investigation. There's always going to be nut jobs out there. This isn't like the BBC's reporting upon like CIA operations or to them MI6 operations, with undercover agents that are, at risk of getting killed, in the Middle East on assignment trying to infiltrate ISIS. They're talking about a fucking Indiegogo campaign that people are waiting on the product for. That's people should be allowed to report upon that. It's just the bottom line. The BBC delayed publication of this report to give the RCL managing director, Suzanne Martin, time to provide evidence of the threats, but she did not do so. So BBC said, okay, let's say what you're saying is true, that this can put you at risk, us publishing this article. Show us evidence of that. And Retro Computers Limited did not do that. Gizmodo published then deleted an article about the matter because it too was told of threats. Whew. So if you go onto the Indiegogo site, lots of people are pissed, obviously, about the delays, but the lack of communication more so. But like I said, this isn't exactly a chameleon situation because these people have made a product before. They did that Sinclair one in 2015. They did the original Vega after a smaller fundraising campaign. So there's like, these are people that could do this project. The problem is it's been handled awfully to this point in terms of communication and what's been going on. But they're now trying to backtrack into try to let people know what's going on the Indiegogo page. But this is stuff that seems like it's so far behind that they should have got out ahead of this. The team at Retro, why all these bad companies are called Retro Computers Limited. RCL originally said the new Spectrum ZX Vega Plus was due to go into production in the summer of 2016, and it might even be able to improve on this delivery date. But by December 2016, after the BBC contacted RCL to ask about the status, the broadcaster, BBC, was threatened with legal action. That's not good. That's not good. They said it's a malicious campaign to denigrate our client's reputation. You can't go after a news organization like that. If they're not reporting anything false, you cannot go after them. And if they are reporting something false, then go after them. Get your lawyers and go after them. Like I said before, this looks like a cool concept. And I'll get into the fact that they're finally showing production models of this, or I guess prototype production models of this. But you got your 4 buttons on the D-pad. You got your little LCD screen. Menu button. You have action buttons. It looks like about seven face buttons. And there's supposed to be 1,000 games that this legally will ship with. Which is why Ian and I are like, this sounds like a cool idea. So this is what they've said. RCL, Retro Computers Limited. They posted a lot of updates to sort of reiterate what's been going on. In terms of the legalese, though, the legal action is between 2 different entities. It's between Cornerstone Media International and Nicholas Malcolm Cooper versus Retro Computers Limited. So there was a court hearing on March 2nd. They can now explain the legal action which has been taking place between their company and their former sales agent, Cornerstone Media, and its director and owner, Nicholas Malcolm Cooper. Retro and Cornerstone entered into a sales agreement on May 3rd, 2015, which related to Retro's projects. The Sinclair ZX Spectrum Vega games console. That's the original one I told you about. Retro terminated the agreement on May 9th, on my birthday, 2016, for breaches of that agreement. Retro then commenced proceedings against Cornerstone on July 27, 2016. Blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Order was served, comply. And on January 31st, Mr. Cooper put Cornerstone into liquidation. Okay. There's something going on with a legal battle between the prior sales agent and them. So what I'm guessing is it has to do with the stock, and maybe this sales agent is now saying, well, I still think this is valid, this agreement, and you're not going to sell the ZX Spectrum Vega Plus, the new product, without my say-so, without me being involved. I'm guessing this is part of the problem at this point. That's all I can say about that. I'm not an expert on what's been going on this legally. All I know is that Clive Sinclair has been gone for this. Sir Clive Sinclair has not been a part of this for a while. There was another delay, though, a technical delay, that due to testing of the product. They discovered, this is an update they put out 5 days ago on March 10th. They discovered during the final testing the product that for 3 of the user features which had been announced for the product had not yet been implemented. The problem was because their former managing director and former technical director resigned last year, didn't hand over all the stuff they thought they needed to do this, but all the assets were not handed over, and excluded the software for the Vega Plus, which had already, December 15th, been developed to the point of having working prototypes available. Jesus Christ. So, lots of problems. I don't want to get into this more. I'm getting into the weeds here. But we're talking about rights issues, people leaving, termination of agreements from a sales agent. So, the good news, like I said, I think they're still trying to make this stupid thing. They have people's money. They're trying to make it, but this has just been down a really bad road of circumstances at this point. All right, we're going to see what happens with this. My recommendation, again, with a lot of this hardware stuff, you have to have a working prototype, or should have a working prototype, in order to put your money down right away for a console. Hell, a fucking calculator on Indiegogo, Kickstarter. Have a working prototype before you put your money down. Any game console in the future, whether it's Legal Chameleon in the past, in the future, Retro Blocks, make sure there's a working prototype that you see working before you put your money down. Because I'm not saying this is malicious intent with the people behind the Vega Plus console, but bad shit does happen in the business world, and especially in manufacturing, in terms of software, hardware, a freaking sales agent, or you terminate the agreement, and then there's some weird shit going on behind the scenes. Anything can happen, and any crowdfunding campaign, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, you're not guaranteed to get what you're putting your money down for, except for a certain NES guidebook. Besides that,